In this lesson, we are going to remove the bulk of the stock from our part. For that, we are going to use the turning profile roughing strategy. Turning profile roughing can remove large amounts of material from the outside diameter or the inside diameter of the part. You can control the step per cut, stock amounts, cut direction, starting position, and cut extensions to cut beyond the profile of the model. Be sure you have the Turning tab selected from the ribbon bar. On the Turning toolbar, select the Turning Profile Roughing icon. For our tool, we will use the same tool from the facing operation. A CNMT diamond style insert is very common for roughing material from the part. We will leave most of the default settings as they are, but some parameters are worth mentioning. Turning mode is where you can tell Fusion whether you want to machine the outside of the part or the inside of the part, OD or ID profiling. Tool settings allow you to change the orientation angle of the tool and define front and back clearance angles. Check the tooltips for more information on these parameters. There is nothing for us to change here, so let's go to the Geometry tab. This is where we would select the front and back areas to be machined. The dialog shows me the front mode is set in reference to the model front, which is good since we faced off the front of the stock. The back mode is in reference to the model back. It is common to cut past the model back on a part like this to qualify the OD and avoid interference with subsequent tools. To cut past the back edge of the part, we can adjust the offset value. How far to offset this will be determined by the operations you plan to use later on. We will require a parting operation later to cut off the part from the bar. I will probably use a 1/4 inch wide cutoff tool for this, so I will set the offset value to -300 thousandths. Let's go to the Radii tab. The Radii tab is for setting clearance positions and cutting areas radially across X. The clearance height is the fully retracted position outside the part. It represents the safest retract height for the first rapid position and the last height after the toolpath has been completed. The from reference is set to the stock OD, and the offset is set to 400 thousandths on my system. Plenty of clearance to the outside of the stock. The outer radius represents the outer surface of the stock to be machined. For this, the from reference is set to the stock OD, and the offset is set to 0 on my system. The inner radius is the final cut depth in X. Even though the from reference is set to the stock ID, the tool will never get to the part center line. It cuts everything within this boundary that can be cut without violating the part model. There's nothing to change here. Let's go to the Passes tab. Here we can control the orientation of the cuts by using the cycle options. Use the direction options to cut front to back, back to front, or both ways. Be sure your tooling can handle these types of cuts. There is an option to use can cycles. Enabling this option will output the roughing can cycle for your CNC control, provided your post-processor has been modified to support this function. This will reduce the NC program size and make it easier to adjust the toolpath at the machine. However, enabling this will remove a number of specialized toolpath functions that are not supported in a typical CNC Controls can cycle. You can see when I select this, options are removed from the Passes group. We will leave this disabled. In the Passes group, the maximum depth of cut sets the step-over amount per cut. Let's set this value to 100 thousandths. The actual cut amount will vary, but never exceed this value. Check the tooltips for additional toolpath control options. When making a roughing cut, like we are, it's common to leave stock for the finishing toolpath. You can leave different amounts for the X and Z faces if you need to. Let's go to the Linking tab. Linking controls what will happen between cuts when the tool needs to retract and reposition. Consult the tooltips for additional information on these parameters. For our toolpath, there is nothing we need to change in here right now, so we will press OK. And there is our toolpath, roughing the excess material from the outside of the stock. Let's zoom into this area and have a closer look. If you look at the back of the part, we can see it did cut past the model back, as we wanted. But notice how it dips in along the OD. You'll see the same type of cut in the groove area. Fusion is trying to remove as much material as it can. There is nothing wrong with this, and our tool can certainly perform this cut with no problem. But if you don't want it to dip in like that, we can alter this toolpath. In the browser, right-click on top of the operation and select Edit. Go to the Passes tab and mouse over the grooving parameter to view the tooltip. This parameter can keep the tool from dipping into these open groove areas. From the pull-down, select Don't Allow Grooving. Press OK, and it will regenerate the toolpath. If you examine the toolpath at the back of the part and in the groove area, you will see it now cuts straight across. In this lesson, we learned about the turning profile roughing toolpath strategy, controlling the cut direction, containing the cutting area, can cycle options, setting the cut step over amount, and setting the stock to leave amount. Press Ctrl+S to save the part, Command-S on the Mac.